Hello, welcome to another Scratch tutorial. If you've seen my game Dodge and you've looked inside, you can see that it's entirely pen. But the thing is, the collision detection was a bit tricky because the blocks, if color touching color, do not work for pen. So I had to use the Pythagorean Theorem to see if the circles were touching. And I will show you right now. So you run around and touching, you die. But if you look inside, you can see that there was a little bit of code in here that had to detect if they were touching. So I will just find it, and right here. So this is a bit of code here that is basically the Pythagorean theorem, which, if you know what that is, if you don't know what that is, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is used to figure out the length of a side of a right triangle, which can be useful if you're trying to figure out the distance between 2 points. So you make a little triangle and then you figure out the length of one. So here basically you figure out one side and then you figure out the other side and then you use that to figure out the other side, which is the radiuses of the two circles, so half the distance, half the length of the two circles. And then that's how you can tell if they're touching. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make that. So make a new project and call it Pen Collision. Now if you go to the costumes, you can just delete the scratch cat and stuff. And now make a new block and call this render player and click run screen without refresh, hit OK. And now go into your motion category and drag out a block, go to x0, y0. Now we will delete the my variable and make a variable called player x for all sprites and a variable called player y for all sprites, and just hide those. Now go to x, player x, and y, player y. And now, just to add a bit of interactivity, point towards mouse pointer, move 10 steps, but then we will have a divide block, and in the sensing category, distance to mouse pointer, and distance to mouse pointer divided by 4, so that makes kind of a smooth motion. And now we will have the variables set player x to 0 and set player y to 0, and now we will set them not to 0 but to the x position and the y position. And now we will add the pen extension and we will have pen down, pen up. And now we will set our pen color to, let's say, a nice little blue. And we will set our pen size to 25. Now, when green flag clicked, forever, erase all, so that way it updates so that you don't have all your smudges and stuff. Render player. So if we run the program, we have a little ball that follows our mouse. So now, make a new block and call this block render enemy. Run without screen refresh, hit OK. And now just drag this block over here and we can drag that in there. So we will make two variables, enemy x for all sprites and enemy y for all sprites, and hide those. And now we will basically duplicate this, except we will remove these blocks that point towards the mouse pointer, and we will replace all these variables with enemy x, enemy y, enemy x, enemy y. And now we will set our pen color to red for a nice enemy. So if we run the program, we have a nice little enemy there, but we can't tell if we're touching because we haven't coded that part yet. So let's do that now. So we will get an if, then block from the event control, and we will code our little part of the Pythagorean theorem. So we will have a less than block, and now bring up this block here and set it to square root, and now we will have a plus So for this part, we will take the player x minus the enemy x, and then we will get a multiplication block and duplicate this, drag it into both sides, and now we will put this in one side of the plus. Now we will duplicate this and set everything to y positions. Enemy y, player y, and enemy y. Now we will drag that in there. So we have, if the square root of player x minus enemy x times player x minus enemy x, which basically squares player x minus enemy x, plus player y minus enemy y times player y minus enemy y, is less than 50, then we have nothing for that yet. So now we have to have a divide by 2. And we need a plus. Now here's the part that you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it makes things more practical. You could have 25 divided by 2, which is the width of the enemy, and then you just have to change the size. But the thing is, that can be impractical if you want to change the size of your player and your enemy often. So if you want to do the practical way, go and make 2 new variables, one called enemy pen size and player pen size. So basically we will keep track of the size of our pen in these variables. So here we will set, in the render enemy block, we will set the enemy pen size to 25. Instead of setting the pen size to 25, we'll set it to the variable enemy pen size. Now we'll set the variable player pen size to 25 in our render player block. And we will add that variable into the part where we set the actual size. So now we have our pen size variables ready. So we will have, that little equation there is if it's less than player pen size divided by 2 and enemy pen size divided by 2, then we will drag this in here, and we will drag in a block that says, say, ouch, because that's what you say when you get hit. So, and now we will duplicate this, and we will duplicate this, and we will get rid of that. And now we basically have the same thing, but it says if not, then we'll say nothing. So let's see if this thing works. Again, oh, and he said ouch. And it works on all sides. So there, now you have basic Pythagorean Theorem collision detection in Scratch. So there are many more things you could do with this, like you could change the size to, let's say, 50, and now our circle's bigger, and it still works on all sides. So you could have it so it's always changing the size by a little bit. But this is the basics, and you can just backpack that equation and use it in any of your pen projects. A tip for making pen projects, if you don't make them often, make sure that your blocks that render everything are running without screen refresh. Make sure that at the start of your loop, you always have an erase all block. Because if you don't, well, you'll see what happens if I take it out. It kind of draws everywhere. And we don't want that, which is why we have our erase all block, which makes it all tidy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial, I think. So if you have any ideas, you should tell me in the comments below or on my profile. See you later, and scratch on.